I want to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Rebecca Hunt. She will be kind of managing the meeting. And just by way of housekeeping, we're going to ask you to hold your questions until the end. Becca's going to keep the chat open. So if you have an issue, like all of a sudden you can't see your screen or you can't hear, at that time, it's perfectly fine to message her and let her know in the chat. But I will give time at the end for questions and answers. And so I'm going to ask you to hold your questions until about the last 5 minutes of the class. And then if we need to stay a little bit later, we'll be happy to do that as well. So we are recording this class and just want you guys to know that. And the class will also be posted on YouTube and a link provided on our NPC scholarship website so that people can access it later if they weren't able to join the class. So without further ado, this class covers the basics of writing a personal scholarship essay. And I'm also going to talk to you about scholarships in general, because I want you to know how to go to college and know that you can go to college, not just NPC, but to any college without doing things like taking out student loans and going into debt to finish your education. And so a key to that is learning how to apply for scholarships. And so we're going to cover in this class the basics of what scholarships are and how they differ from grants. And then we're going to talk about that essay and how to make it really a strong essay, thinking from the perspective of the audience that you're writing to and how you have to make an impression on them in order for your scholarship to be selected. And I'm going to close by presenting all of the scholarships NPC Friends and Family has available for the fall 2022 semester. And these are just for going to Northland Pioneer College. And we'll finish with questions and answers. The scholarships for NPC Friends and Family for the fall semester will be accepted starting on March 1st. And the application window will be open through April 14th at noon Mountain Standard Time. No exceptions, no late applications accepted. And I will be talking about that a little further on as we go through the class. So I want you to think about when you're beginning to think about writing your essay, where scholarships come from. Do any of you want to venture a guess and tell me where you think scholarships come from? Or if you will, where does the money come from that provides scholarships? Anybody want to take a guess? You can unmute and answer.
I know a lot are like in memory of people.
Right. So we have a lot of
fundraisers.
scholarships that are provided through donations in memory of people. And they're provided just through private donors like you and me. Where else might they come from?
Organizations.
Right, so organizations. And so NPC Friends and Family is an example of one such organization. We are the college's foundation, and any college or university that you attend probably has a foundation affiliated with it. There are internal scholarships that come from the colleges and universities themselves, but there are also external scholarships that are provided by maybe corporations, businesses, private foundations, and community organizations like the Rotary clubs and the Kiwanis clubs and things like that. And then just from private donors. And so that's where the money comes from. And why is this important to think about? When you're preparing a scholarship essay, you need to be thinking about who is going to select you to receive that scholarship. So let's say you submit your application and it's in a pile of a bunch of other applications. Who's going to decide whether or not you're the one who wins the scholarship? Anybody want to take a guess at that?
I would say a committee.
It is a committee. You're correct. In most cases, it's a committee. And in the case of NPC Friends and Family, I convene a number of different committees. They're made up of volunteers, and they include members of my NPC Friends and Family board, college faculty, staff, administrators, community volunteers. And so the point I'm making here to you as you think about preparing your essay is that in all likelihood, you don't know these people and you're never going to meet them. So how in the world do you make a good impression on a bunch of people that in all likelihood you're never going to meet? That's where your writing skills come in. And when I'm talking about writing skills here, I'm not talking about, your grammar and punctuation and spelling. All of that is super important in making a good impression, but I'm talking about hooking and holding them from the very beginning. So when you think about when you're deciding whether or not you want to read a paperback book, for example, you might turn it over and look at the back and read the summary. And what it says in that little, synopsis on the back is what's going to hook and hold you as the reader and make you decide whether or not you want to read that book. Well, that's what you need to do with a scholarship essay. So we're going to go through the scholarship essay in 4 paragraphs, taking each one's content individually. And in order to hook and hold that audience, I'm going to recommend strongly to you that you tell a story about yourself. Many students submit scholarship applications and their essays begin, my name is, Betsy Wilson, and I'm graduating from Cholla High School, and I'm going to go to the University of Arizona and major in animal science. And it's not that that's incorrect, and it's not that it's not true. It's just that that's how everybody starts. And you want yours to stand apart. So to capture the attention of this audience, you want to provide a lot of rich detail by telling a story about yourself that kind of conveys who you are as a person. And I'm going to give you 2 examples here, and I'm giving them to you for a couple of different reasons I'm going to circle back to. But the first example came from a young lady several years back when I first kind of started working for NPC Friends and Family, and we didn't have a lot of scholarships to give. And I used to actually meet with the review committees as an ad hoc member of the committees because we didn't have that many applications for scholarships. And she was applying for a scholarship we have that's for students who want to go into firefighting and EMT. And she began her essay by saying, when I was 16, all the kids in my little community were really excited because they want to get their driver's licenses. I was really excited because I wanted to become a junior wildland firefighter. And she told how her grandfather had actually established the firefighting unit in the town where they lived, and they later made it a volunteer department, and her dad was a fireman. So it was a family history. And she talked about how at the age of 16, she went out on her first wildland forest fire, and she was describing going down a dirt road in high rolling oak and woodland, grassland, with this fire burning perpendicular to the road they were driving on. And she was in the lead truck sitting between her grandfather and her dad, and the other fire trucks were coming along behind them, and the fire was burning closer to the road. And she said, there came a point when I realized that the fire was going to burn into the road, and we were driving right toward it. And I could no longer just see the fire, I could smell it, and then I could hear it. And all of a sudden, my grandfather stopped the truck in the middle of the road, and he turned to me and he said, I don't want you to be scared. We're going to get out of the truck, and we're going to lie on our backs under the truck. We're going to pull our turnouts over our faces. The fire is going to burn over the road, and we're going to flank it and fight it. And her next sentence said, I was scared to death. And I was watching the members of the committee as we were reading this essay. And if there had been 50 other scholarship applications in that pile, I think in their minds, they had already given it to her, because they didn't only feel her interest in becoming a firefighter, they felt her passion for it. And they knew the history that it held in her life. And so she really hooked and held them just with that first story. That was how she began her essay. The second essay I'm going to tell you about is kind of has a different angle to it. I review scholarship essays for students, and I'll do that for you if you want me to kind of help you make your essay as strong and competitive as it can be. And so this young man several years ago sent me a scholarship essay, and he wanted me to review it. And it began by saying, when I was in high school, I ruined my life. I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And by the time I was 17, I had left high school, and I just wanted to hang out with all of my friends who were drunk and high. And I'm reading this going, this is a scholarship essay? And then I kept reading, and it was like, oh, okay. He went on to say, one day I was at my home, and my uncle came to my house, and he said, we are going to be doing a family building project. We're going to be building a home for one of your female relatives. And he said, I want you to be part of that process. And I want you to be at this place at this time tomorrow. And he said, to this day, I really don't know why I did it, other than I think it was maybe my last chance to connect with my family. But I went. And in the process of that experience, I learned that I liked working with my hands, and I liked the precision of following a building plan and of measuring and cutting. And when I finished that project with my family, I had this personal satisfaction that I had never felt before, that I could make something, I could create something. And so, I'm paraphrasing, but he went on to say, I have been clean and sober for 31 months. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I haven't touched drugs or alcohol in 31 months. And I'm pursuing my GED at Northland Pioneer College. And next semester, I'm going to be ready to start the construction technology program. So he was applying for the scholarship to get his Associate of Applied Science degree in construction technology. And I will tell you, needless to say, both of these students won these scholarships that they applied for. Now, the point of that story, I'm going to circle back to a little bit later too, but students tend to think that scholarships are all about, you have to be the class valedictorian and you have to have a 4.0 GPA. And there are some scholarships that are like that, but there are many, many scholarships out there for students who just have a desire and a passion to achieve something. And they present themselves through these essays as being the kind of person that scholarship funders want to award. And so now that we've got this first paragraph out of the way where you've hooked and held that review committee, we're going to talk about the other ways in your subsequent 3 paragraphs that you convince that review committee that you're the person that should receive that award. So now they know what your passion is. They know what your strongest desire is and what your career goal is. This is the paragraph now where you talk about your educational plan. The key to this paragraph is rich detail. And if you think about this as a scholarship review committee, what do you think happens if you say in your educational plan, I'm going to get my nursing degree from Northland Pioneer College? That's all you say. What might they infer from that?
It's very flat and doesn't sound exciting. I don't know.
You're right. It doesn't sound exciting. It doesn't sound like you're excited about it, right? What else? If you don't have a lot of detail about how you're going to get there, like how many credits is it going to take and when do you think you'll earn your degree? And especially, how does it relate to your career goal? They're going to infer that as much as you desire this, like you said in your first paragraph, how much you want to be a firefighter, how much you want to be a building contractor, you really don't know what it's going to take to get there. And that can plant a seed of doubt, even though they see your passion and they see your determination. Now they can be doubting a little bit, and that can take away that edge that wins you the scholarship. So if you don't know the answer to these things before you prepare this paragraph, have a meeting with an academic advisor. They can help you create a degree plan and map out, how many credits you can take a semester and how long it's going to take to achieve your degree. And then if your career goal requires it, you may have to go on from NPC to a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or even a PhD. And you can talk about that in this paragraph. You can say, when I'm done at NPC, this is what I'm going to do next. So now they know, okay, first paragraph, this student has real desire and passion for this career plan. And now I know that they know how to get there. So now you've got those 2 paragraphs under your belt. The third paragraph presents you as a resourceful person. And this is going to sound a little bit counterintuitive because you need to think about what makes you a good investment. Remember that scholarships mostly are provided by donors or by corporate, commitments and things like that. There's a limited amount of money to award. So the funders want to select the person who's the best investment for that limited amount of funds, the person who's really going to follow through with what they said they would. So you've already convinced them you're passionate. You've already convinced them you understand how to do that. So that's in your stead. Now you need to talk about what are the things that make you a good investment because you have resources. Many of the scholarships that you're going to apply for are not the so-called full ride, tuition and books and fees and living expenses. They're going to be for anywhere from maybe $500 to $2,000 or $3,000. They're not going to fund your whole education. So in this paragraph, review committees are going to be looking at what do you kind of have, what kind of skin in the game do you have that's going to help you fund your education? So that they don't think that, if you're putting all your eggs in the basket of this scholarship and, we award it to you and you don't have anything else, you're not going to be able to finish what you started. So resources aside from the scholarship you're applying for could include a job. They could include personal savings. We're going to talk more about financial aid and I'm going to nag you about it, but they could include what we call the federal Pell Grant or financial aid. You can apply for other scholarships and you can say you're receiving other scholarships. Then there are other things that you can talk about in this paragraph that show you to be a good investment from sort of a character standpoint. And these can include things like belonging to clubs and organizations, belonging to student government. If you are a student at Northland Pioneer College with a GPA of better than 3.0, I strongly encourage you to look into joining Phi Theta Kappa. That's an outstanding resource for scholarships. And if you do volunteer work, if you work for your community, if you take care of some person in your family, these are things that show you not only to be a good investment as far as, you know, you have your own funding, but you have a good character. You have a good investment. You're a good investment because of your character. So that's what this paragraph is about. Now you have convinced them you have passion and desire, you have a direction for getting there with your education, and you have some resources of your own, so they are not left with doubt that you can finish what you're started. As writers now, you know what you do at the end of an essay, and now you're in the fourth paragraph. This is where you're going to kind of sum it all up. But there is a really key thing to say in this paragraph, and that is, now they know the resources you have. What are you lacking? How is this scholarship going to fill a need? And when a scholarship says that it's need-based or there's a need component, you need to describe that in detail. What are you going to use it for? Don't leave this unsaid, because then they can sort of assume that, you know, as much as you sound like a great person, you really don't need that scholarship. Somebody else needs it a lot worse than you do. So use the name of the scholarship and use the amount of the scholarship so that the committee also knows that you're not just blanketing them with an essay. If you're awarded, if I am awarded the Press Winslow Memorial Scholarship in the amount of $1,000, I will use it to purchase textbooks and supplies for my nursing classes. There are many things that are valid needs for scholarships. And just because you have a financial aid to pay your tuition, books, and fees, maybe you have travel expenses. Northland Pioneer College students tend to drive a great deal to get to their classes. So it's perfectly legitimate to ask for things like gas money. It's perfectly legitimate to say, I'm going to use it for childcare expenses because I have to attend class twice a week and I don't have, you know, daycare to put my kids in. You need to be realistic. One of the ways that I've seen students go really great through an essay and then they get to this part is they say, if I'm awarded this $1,000 scholarship, I'm going to quit my job so I can focus on my studies. $1,000 is not going to let you quit your job. So don't say that. And also, don't pad it up with all these things it's going to pay for. It's going to cover my tuition and fees and my rent and my childcare and my utilities, and because that's not realistic either. So be specific about what you need the funds for. And then close this paragraph by thanking the review committee for considering your scholarship application. So now you have the 4-paragraph scholarship essay, and I would encourage you to leave this class, even if you don't intend to apply for an NPC Friends and Family Scholarship, and I hope you do. When you leave this class, work on writing this essay, prepare this 500-word essay to keep on your computer, because this can serve as a basis for multiple other scholarship applications. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to write a new essay for every scholarship. And if you would like me to edit this and to help you edit it after it's written, I'll be talking to you about how you can send it to me. So now we've covered the content of a 4-paragraph, 500-word essay. Does anybody have any questions at this point? We'll watch the chat, Becca. And if you don't see any, we'll go ahead and. Okay.
When on the financial aid side of things, I just recently got divorced and I was going to redo my financial aid.
Mm-hmm.
When does that need to be done by?
Your financial aid for the 22-23 academic year should already be done. But you can do it now. It's not too late. And we're going to give you the link for that soon. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Remind me at the end, if you will, Becca, to talk about exceptions, about petitions if she needs to. And we'll come back to that, Kelsey. But you can do your FAFSA anytime for next year.
Okay.
And I'm glad you said that, because we're talking about scholarships for the fall semester right now. Most scholarships are awarded in the semester prior to when they're needed. Just like you usually apply for financial aid in the academic year before you need it. You fill out the application so that you have the money ready to go when you're ready to register. So that was a good question. So now we're going to talk about some tips to make your application successful. And the first one is, if your application requires letters of recommendation, and some of our NPC friends and family scholarships do, ask for those as soon as you know you need them. Ask your recommenders. And recommenders can be teachers, they can be counselors, they can be academic advisors who know you, they can be people that you have worked for or people that you've done volunteer work for. They should never be family members or just personal friends, because those people are expected to give you a good recommendation. So reviewers want to hear from someone who can sort of attest to your work ethic and your ethic as a student. It's perfectly okay when you finish the scholarship essay to provide a copy of it to your recommenders and say, I'm applying for this scholarship. Be sure you tell them the criteria for the scholarship, so they're going to know what to say in their letter. And then say, this is what I'm saying in my scholarship essay. And then when they write the letter for you, they can reinforce what you have said in your essay. The reason you don't want to wait is because you can never, ever miss a scholarship deadline. And I think that recommenders have the best of intentions and they want to help you. But if you wait till the last minute to ask them, they're not going to have time to prepare a letter. So as soon as you know you need it, ask them, and also determine how it needs to be sent. Most letters of recommendation are just like a letter of recommendation for employment. You can't send it yourself. Your recommender has to send it to the employer. Just like in our case, your recommenders have to send them to NPC friends and family to my email. And then you send your application to me separately. Okay, follow the application instructions. This may seem like a no-brainer, but you need to really carefully make sure that you meet all the criteria. Don't apply for scholarships that you don't meet the criteria for. Use your word processing software, whatever word program you're using, to follow that word count and never miss the word count, because that gives a committee reason to disqualify your application and to not consider it. A tip about deadlines. Our scholarship deadline for NPC Friends and Family scholarships for the fall semester, and there will be a quiz at the end, is April 14th. So scholarships applications can be submitted from March 1st through April 14th at 12 noon Mountain Standard Time. I should never receive a scholarship application from anybody on the deadline day because they've waited too long. Too many things can happen. Life can intervene. Your computer can crash. Your dog can eat it. Don't put yourself in that position, because I will not accept it. And the reason I won't is it's not fair for me to take a late application and allow it to be considered for funding against other people who got theirs in on time. And so when you see a deadline date, push it back on your calendar by a week. So if you see our deadline date is April 14th at noon Mountain Standard Time, you're going to submit your scholarship application by April 7th at noon Mountain Standard Time. That's your deadline date. And then you're not going to miss it. So start preparing ahead of time. Do not miss deadlines for any reason. And then if the scholarship application requests a specific topic, we have been talking about a basic, what we call a personal scholarship essay. Some scholarships will ask you to address a prompt like, we had one a few years ago that I helped a student with. It was from the Allstate Insurance Company, and they wanted the student to talk about why it was important to wear a seatbelt while driving. And that seems like kind of an off-topic thing to write about when you're asking for a scholarship. But what they're looking for is all the same things we just talked about. They're going to infer through the way that you present yourself and the way that you respond to the question that you are a good student, that you are detail-oriented and resourceful because you edited it and you used all the appropriate capitalization and punctuation and spelling. So those are the things you really want to attend to when you're addressing kind of off-topic prompts like that. Okay. A lot of scholarship applications have what we call like kind of a boilerplate cover page, and they'll ask you to do things like put the name of your high school that you attended and the GPA you had when you graduated and what year you graduated, and did you belong to any clubs? Did you play sports? Did you do extracurricular activities? So when you get to that essay and you get to that third paragraph where you talk about resourcefulness, don't just say again, I was a member of choir and I played football and I was in the honor society, because you already said that. When you get to that paragraph about resourcefulness, say, when I was a member of the Honor Society in my junior year of high school, my chapter had a food drive that brought in over 1,000 pounds of food for the needy people in our community. So now you're not just saying this is what I did, you're building on that accomplishment. Okay, this is a killer. Please do not tell a sob story. What's a sob story? Or if you will, what's the purpose of telling a sob story?
To gain sympathy.
Exactly. And I will guarantee you, I've seen scholarship review committees read sob story essays, and they feel really bad for those students. They do. They feel sorry for them because bad things happen to all of us. Terrible things happen to people, but they won't award them a scholarship. Why do you think?
They want to hear excitement of how they're going to continue on with their career, not a Debbie Downer essay, maybe.
You're on the right track. So if you're writing a sob story, you are presenting yourself not from the position of a resourceful person, but from a position of a victim. This happened to me. Feel sorry for me. And victims aren't resourceful people. Think back to the essay I edited for the young man who said, when I was in high school, I was a drug addict and an alcoholic. That really easily could have been a sob story. That could have been like, oh, poor me. So I was like this and I had such a bad life and you should give me money. Instead, it was a story of achievement and triumph and empowerment. I overcame that. I have been clean and sober for 31 months. I have direction in my life. So if you've had bad things happen in your life and they are relevant to your personal story and why you're going to school, it's totally okay to talk about them. Just talk about them from the position of a person who is resourceful and who is going to achieve. We have a lot of scholarship essays that come from students, especially going into nursing and allied health programs, that have had some experience in their life where either they or a close family member or friend went through a terrible injury or catastrophic illness, or even someone they knew passed away, and they were so inspired by the healthcare professionals who cared for themselves or their loved ones that's why they have chosen to enter that profession. That's perfectly okay to talk about. So just differentiate between those and be sure that you're speaking from a position of resourcefulness. Okay. We've talked about editing and how important it is that your paper is edited for correctness. Your grammar is correct, your punctuation, your spelling, your choice of words, your syntax, it has nice flow. Even if you're not the best writer, and especially if you think you are, get people to edit your essay for that correctness. And be sure that you don't have typos, be sure that you didn't, there's not something you could have worded a little bit better. Be sure you do that. But more than that, once you have that nice, clean copy, what we call copy edited essay with all the errors corrected, think of a few trusted friends or family members who will give you a really honest response and ask them to read your essay, tell them what scholarship you're seeking and what the criteria are. And then don't say, did I write a good essay? Because they're going to go, oh yeah, or they're going to go, oh yeah. Ask them, would you award me the scholarship? Why or why not? And then listen to what they have to say. As writers, especially when we're close to the topic and we know our topic, we feel oftentimes that we've communicated clearly because we understand all the background, right? And who knows us better than ourselves, we hope. If you have somebody that trusts you and will give you really straightforward feedback, ask them, how am I coming across in this essay? Because you want to come across as your best and most excited, passionate, capable, resourceful self, and listen to what they have to say and then be willing to modify as needed, because the goal here is that you get the money. Okay, this one requires no explanation. If you didn't do it, don't say you did. And if you did do it, don't say you didn't. Okay, so now we've covered that 500-word essay, and we've talked about some tips to really make it shine and make your application stand out, and some pitfalls to avoid so you're successful and you're not rejected. Now we're going to talk about scholarship searches. How do you go about finding scholarship opportunities? And I'm going to tell you right now that it's going to take you some time. And when I say that, I want to give you something to think about. Every time I teach this class, and when I teach it live especially, and I talk about scholarship searches and I talk about writing essays, students invariably, someone says, well, this takes a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of time. And that's true, it will. So let's say that you leave this class tonight and you sit down and you knock out this 500-word essay and you have somebody edit it, and then you have somebody edit it for content and somebody else to give you some feedback, and you revise it again, and you finally have this beautiful scholarship. Then you conduct a scholarship search, and you find in the first week, you find 5 scholarships you qualify for, and you prepare applications for them and you submit them. And that's kind of, by the way, how you want to do a scholarship search. You have to promise yourself every week you're going to apply for a few scholarships. You can't do it all at once, but you have to be consistent. Let's say all of this takes you like 4 hours, and it'll take you at least that long. And you go and you get a few rejection letters, and that's going to happen too. You're not going to win every scholarship you apply for. But then one day you open your email and there's this wonderful letter from me saying, congratulations, Brianna, you have won the Press Winslow Memorial Scholarship in the amount of $1,000. That took you 4 hours of your time. How much did you just make an hour?
$250.
$250 an hour. So if you think about scholarship searches in those terms, they are very well worth your time. And you do have to kind of think of them, if you're going to be successful, you have to kind of almost think of them not quite as a part-time job, but kind of as a little side gig that you have, a little moonlight. So how do you go about doing it? The first thing you have to do is you have to complete your FAFSA. If you have not done so, you need to do that. And there's 2 reasons you need to do that. Most scholarships require it, whether they're private or foundation or corporate. They want you to do your FAFSA because it is the gold standard by which they can ascertain what your need is. It doesn't mean that if you don't receive financial aid or you don't qualify for financial aid, it's going to count you out of the scholarship. It just is it's the common yardstick they have for measuring student need. And they're going to do that by looking at what's called your student aid report, your SAR, that's generated when you submit your FAFSA, and looking at something called your EFC, which is your estimated family contribution. And the only way that you can get that is by completing the FAFSA. Even if you know that you're not going to qualify for financial aid, you really need to complete the FAFSA if you intend to apply for scholarships, because so many of them require it. So it's just a good idea. This is the link, and I'm going to be posting, by the way, I'll be posting this class as a YouTube video, and I'll also post these slides on my scholarship page so that you can access them later and find these links. And then you need to find a scholarship search engine. So npc.edu/scholarships is an example of such a search engine. And you can use NPC Friends and Family as your search term. And we're going to give you that link in the chat as well to learn about NPC Friends and Family scholarships. No search engine should require you to pay money for it. And there are lots of them out there. And you can also search for unusual scholarships. Did you know, for example, that there's a scholarship for left-handed people? There are scholarships for people with certain names. There are scholarships for tall people. I found that out because my son is 6'6", and we learned there's a scholarship for tall people. Most colleges and universities that you will attend have internal scholarships that are actually funded by the college or university itself. A lot of them are related to GPA. And so in other words, they're what we call merit-based scholarships, but they also have what we call need-based scholarships that are tied to whether or not you're going to get financial aid. So whatever college or university you're going to attend, look into if they have internal scholarships, and then look into whether or not they have a foundation, because foundations are usually a part of the college or university you're going to attend as kind of a component unit, and they will have their own separate scholarships, just like NPC Friends and Family does. A really cool resource is something called the Arizona Community Foundation, and I gave you the link there. Every fall and spring, they have a window of about 6 weeks where you can log into the Arizona Community Foundation and create a profile. And you will complete the profile by writing some short essays and answering some questions. And the Arizona Community Foundation is a foundation that manages Arizona foundations. So the cool thing about that is they will take your profile and help match you to all the scholarship opportunities that they manage. That can save you a lot of legwork, but I will also tell you, if you really want to be successful, it's not a substitute for doing your own scholarship search. And then if you want to, you can send me your essay for editing. You can send it as a Word document or share it in Google Docs to my email at betsy.wilson@npc.edu. You can also ask me questions if you think it's something that I didn't cover in tonight's class. You can go back there and ask me, and I'll try to help you. I want to ask you that if you want me to edit an essay, please give me a couple weeks before the deadline so that I have time to do that for it and get it back to you. So there you have some resources to get you started on your scholarship search. Now I want to talk to you about some scholarships that are open right now through NPC Friends and Family. And I put this one up here knowing that I'm teaching this class here at the end of February, and this is actually due on March 4th. But I put it up here because this one kind of sits outside of our NPC Friends and Family application window. It's a little bit different. It's called an art scholarship, the Marcia and Louis Smith Memorial Art Scholarship. But you don't have to be an art major at NPC to win this scholarship, but you do have to have an art practice. So if you're a person who draws or paints or does ceramics or works in textiles, weaving, quilting, does photography, any kind of visual art, you can apply for the scholarship. And what you're going to have to do is agree to attend NPC as a full-time student. That means 12 credits in the upcoming year, so the 2022-2023 school year. And during that time, you have to take at least one 3-credit art class. And it can be a studio art class, or it can be art history or something like that, but one art class. And this is a little bit different because your essay has to do with your feelings about art in society. And so I've provided you with the link to apply for this. And in addition to the essay, you're going to submit a digital portfolio, in other words, photographs of your artwork along with your essay. So this is a little bit different kind of scholarship, but I wanted you guys to know about it because it's very valuable. This will provide you $3,000 for the upcoming academic year, $1,500 for the fall semester. And then if you continue to meet the criteria of a GPA of 3.0 and you've enrolled in the art class, and you're going to get it again for the spring semester. So this can be a big help. Okay, now our regular NPC Friends and Family Scholarships for fall 2022, again, they open March 1st. So I'll start accepting applications after March 1st, and they close no later than April 14th at noon Mountain Standard Time. The first two I want to show you are essentially the same scholarship, but there are different criteria. The Fill the Gap Scholarship is for students who do qualify for financial aid. So you've completed your FAFSA and you found out that you're going to get financial aid for the 2022-2023 academic year, and you have that letter from the financial aid office that says you will, you can apply for the Fill the Gap Scholarship. If you are ineligible for financial aid, and once again, you still have to complete the FAFSA to show that you're ineligible, whether because you're over the credit limit, whether because you are over the EFC, you can apply for what's called the Leg Up Scholarship. These are both really good scholarships to apply for because I can award 9 of these every semester, 9 of each of these. We set aside one for every campus and center location, and NPC has 9 locations. And so a lot of times I won't get one from a particular location, and that means I can award 2 somewhere else. So you need to apply for these scholarships. If you're intending to apply for any, apply for one of these. Okay, the next 3 we're going to talk about, Kelsey mentioned in the beginning that some of the scholarships are memorial scholarships, and these are 3 great examples of memorial scholarships. The basic criteria for each of these is a GPA of 2.5, although the Lizitsky Memorial Scholarship is a 2.0. And these are the fundamental requirements, but I encourage you to click on each of these and read the full application requirements. And when it says you must show need, that means you need to describe in your scholarship essay in that 4th paragraph, this is how I'm paying for college. These are the expenses I have, and this is what I'm going to use this scholarship for. That's what it means by show need. You've got to make it clear to the review committee how you're going to use the scholarship if you're awarded. We can award 2 Press Winslow scholarships and 3 Jennifer Lee Witt scholarships. And I don't know how many of you have been at NPC for any period of time, but Press Winslow was a former member of NPC's district governing board, and he was a tremendous volunteer in the Winslow community. And so if you knew him, I strongly encourage you to mention him and mention that in the scholarship essay. The same with Jennifer Lee Witt. Professor Witt taught English and creative writing at Northland Pioneer College, and this scholarship was established by her parents in her memory, and we're still getting applications from students who were taught by her. So if you knew Jennifer Witt, by all means talk about that in your essay. Mr. Lazitsky was a businessman in the Holbrook community who passed away in the 80s, and this scholarship was established by his family, and he was very dedicated to especially helping Native American students get a college education. So this is for Native American students. Okay, the Jean Swarthout Presidential Excellence Scholarship is something that was, it's not a memorial because she's still very much with us, but she's a former president of Northland Pioneer College. And this scholarship was established when she retired as a gift from her friends and family. And so this one has a little higher GPA requirement of 3.5. And for most of these, you do have to be awarded, enrolled in 6 or more credits during the semester of award, so the 22-23 academic year. Doris Reed Nursing Scholarship, you have to be in the nursing program and you have to be ineligible for financial aid to be awarded this one. Okay, this series of scholarships were provided by a longtime supporter of NPC friends and family who passed away last year. And he established these before he died. The College and Career Prep Scholarship is for students who haven't yet started taking 100-level courses or above. This is for students who are in our GED program or our college prep program, getting ready to take courses 100 level or above. And then Career and Technical Education Scholarship, the CTE scholarship, is for students who are enrolled in career and technical programs. And these would be the things like welding and construction technology, certified nursing assistant, medical assistant, those kinds of programs that are going to result in a certificate or an associate of applied science. And so if you're in one of those programs, you can apply for the CTE scholarship. And then if you are in a program for university transfer, you're doing an Associate of Arts, an Associate of Science, Associate of Business, Associate of Arts in Early Childhood for transfer, you can apply for the university-bound scholarship. Notice that these require letters of recommendation. So if you're planning to apply for these, get your essay written and ask your recommenders right away. And you'll find when you click on these scholarships on the NPC Friends and Family or the NPC scholarship page that you send the application to me and your recommenders send the letters to me separately. If you are a military veteran or if you are the spouse or dependent of a military veteran, I encourage you to apply for this. It's $500 a semester and I seldom have applicants for this one. So if you fit that category, I encourage you to look into this one and apply for it. And then the White Mountain Women's Club is a $1,200 scholarship. You do have to be a continuing student at NPC. They want students who have completed at least 24 credits. So if you're in your maybe 3rd semester or more at NPC, this is one that you can apply for. And they also favor students who attend the White Mountain campus in Show Low or reside in one of the White Mountain communities because that's where their organization is located. Okay, if you are a 2022 high school graduate, I'm talking about these scholarships because these are just for you. The House in Show Low, if you guys are familiar with the House restaurant in Show Low, is providing us with 3 $2,000 scholarships for the upcoming academic year. These will be awarded at $1,000, not 100,000, sorry, $1,000 per semester to a graduate from Blue Ridge High School, a graduate from Show Low High School, and a graduate from Snowflake High School. And the application details are on the website, but these are strictly for those 3 high schools. The Arvin Palmer PhD Memorial Scholarship was established in memory of a former vice president of Northland Pioneer College by his family when he passed away. And this is just for students who are graduating this year from Snowflake High School. It's for $500 per semester, a total of $1,000 per year. And if you are a student going on a mission for the LDS Church, you can win this scholarship and defer it and know that it will be there for you when you return and go to NPC. And then the Corky Elikann Scholarship is just for 2022 graduates of Alchesay High School in White River. And this provides $1,000 per semester, so $2,000 for the academic year to one male and one female graduate of the 2022 class at Alchesay High School. And this one also requires notice letters of recommendation. And then we have some scholarships that are just for NPC graduates. So bear in mind, these will still be here. If you're thinking, well, I'm just starting an NPC, we're going to have them when you graduate. And so these are new, but they're going to be there when you get ready to move on to a university. The first one, the Taking Flight Scholarship, was established in memory of Dr. Henderson, who was a very long time faculty member and administrator at Northland Pioneer College. And notice that I will not be accepting applications for this one until May 9th. So I'm always going to open these when it gets close to the end of the school year, because we need to see grades in and know that you're in good stead to graduate in that academic year. And then the deadline will be in mid-June, and we'll make awards before you go off to university. But these are for students that are going to university transfer. You have to have the recommendation of 2 academic faculty. So you can't go to your welding instructor or your nursing, I guess your nursing instructor, but not your CNA instructor. You have to go to an academic faculty. So like a math instructor, an English instructor, sociology, psychology, and get a letter of recommendation. And you have to be enrolled full-time in an accredited baccalaureate program, bachelor's degree program at a residential college or university. And this means you can't be an online student. The family wanted to establish this so students would have help making that move to go to, uprooting themselves and making a move to go to a residential program. And this is a $1,500 scholarship. We also have some scholarships that are just for Native American students, and these are provided just this past year by a pair of anonymous donors. The Andy Von Academic Scholarship for Native American students requires 2 letters of recommendation, and it is $1,000 for the fall semester of 2022. I can award up to 7 of these. And then really exciting, if you're a Native American student who resides on tribal lands more than 30 miles from the campus or center that you have to attend in person. So in other words, you're having to drive. You can apply for what's called the Andy Von Transportation Grant for Native American students. And this can help you defray some of those costs. We have students every semester who travel in excess of 1,000 miles a week to attend classes. And this is kind of where this one came from. And then another graduate scholarship, if you are going into a baccalaureate program when you leave NPC, this is the one that you can apply for upon graduation. And this one can also be for an online program. You don't have to be in a residential program like the Henderson Scholarship, the Taking Flight Scholarship. So keep these graduate scholarships in mind for when you're ready to complete. Okay, this concludes my presentation, but I want to first of all thank you for coming and listening to me. I commend you for pursuing a college education and for taking the initiative to seek scholarships. And I hope that you will consider all of these resources, scholarships, financial aid, and those kinds of things before you think about taking out a loan. Students graduate, heartbreakingly, students graduate every year with something that's tantamount to a house payment because they've taken out loans to go to school. And just know that there are a lot of other resources out there, and that a lot of people, maybe yourselves included, think about, why didn't I ever apply for scholarships? We have a lot of students who just don't apply for scholarships because they think they're not going to get them. They think they're for the class valedictorian. They think they're for the overachiever. They think they're for a student with a 4.0 GPA. And I think I've just told you in this presentation that that's just not true. We have a lot of scholarships out there for students who are resourceful and determined and who, like you, take the initiative to seek other resources. So I'm proud of you for doing that. And I appreciate you for listening to my presentation. So at this time, I'd like to invite you to ask any questions that you might have. And I'm going to ask Becca, she's probably already done so, but to post the link for NPC Friends and Family Scholarships in the chat. And if you want to put your questions in the chat, that's fine. Or if you just want to unmute yourself and ask, that's fine too. So I'd welcome your questions at this time.
Whenever we send you an essay to review, do we need to make an appointment with you or do we just email it to you?
No, thank you, Kelsey. You can just email it. Just be sure to give me a couple of weeks of turnaround time. I really like to get them in Word if you can send them that way, because what I like to do is use the editing function in Word so that you can see where I've made markups and changes. It's your essay, you own it. So you may not always agree with all the changes I made or the comments I put in the sidebar. And if I can, use that Word editing function, you can say, I agree with this, I accept this change, or I discard this one. I'm going to keep it the way I said. And what I'll send you is I'll send you back a marked up version that includes any editing and any comments. I think you should talk about this. I'll also send you a clean copy where I've incorporated all those changes. And if you want to just accept them all, then you have a clean copy of the scholarship. I can also help you I find it easier when I'm writing to get my thoughts down on paper and then worry about word count. And so I'm not going to tell you to send me a 2,000 word essay and have me whittle it down to 2,000 to 500 words for you. But if you're a little over the word count and you're really frustrated and you don't know how to edit it down, I can help you with that too. So yeah, you don't have to make an appointment. You can just send me an email and be sure and let me know if it's not one of mine. Let me know what the criteria is, so I'm sure that I'm helping you address whatever prompt you're writing to.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all your help that you do.
You're very welcome.
It takes
Thank
a
you
huge
for
load
coming.
off because I'm terrible at writing them.
Well, you know what? That's the thing. You don't have to be a quote unquote good writer if you have good editors. So get the thoughts down. I have a brother who is just one of the smartest people I've ever known in my life and very successful. And he has dyslexia. So I'm his ghostwriter. He sends me stuff all the time and I correct it for him. It's not that he can't get the thoughts down on paper. It's that he doesn't spell them right and he doesn't always arrange his syntax right, but he's a brilliant guy. So don't let that hold you back.
I've had an essay wrote out for at least a year, but I'm like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. So I'll freshen that up and then send it over this week.
Awesome. I look forward to getting it. Oh, Kelsey, I was going to talk to you about FAFSA exceptions. Rebecca just reminded me. Thank you. If you have had a change in your financial situation, FAFSA is based on your last year's taxes. And every year we have students who have gone through some kind of change, like they're going, well, last year I was employed full time and then I lost my job. And so you're basing my financial aid on when I was making, $1 gazillion a year, or, I went through a divorce and last year I had 2 incomes, myself and my spouse, and now I don't have that, but it's based on last year when I had 2 incomes. You can get in touch directly with our financial aid office. And I think Becca could put the email on the chat, and they can help you petition. So you don't have to think, oh, I can't get financial aid, because many times you can petition for an exception and you can get it. So if you were thinking of that, you told me that you did have a situational change. That's something that you can talk to them about when you submit your FAFSA, and they can help you petition for consideration if your financial situation isn't the same as it was.
Thank you.
And the same holds true. We have students all the time who can't submit the FAFSA because maybe their parents or their spouse don't want to release tax information. And they'll say, I don't care if it'll help you go to school, I'm not giving it to you. Financial aid can also help you work around that. So I encourage you to talk to the financial aid office. And then once you complete your FAFSA, stay in touch with them to be sure that it's being processed and that they don't need any additional documents from you. Any other questions that anybody has that I can help them with? Do you have anything in chat? Okay,
Hi.
well,
My name is Francina, and I have a question.
oh, sure.
So I'm paying for school on my own.
Okay.
I've been to school off and on, and I'm up there in age, but I've depleted all my financial aid. So when I do file for or apply for these scholarships, I do still need to do a FAFSA.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because, and it's not just me, most scholarships will require that you do a FAFSA because they're going to look at your student aid report it's called your SAR. It's that document that generates after you submit the FAFSA, and it will say on it what your EFC is, your estimated family contribution. That just helps them, ascertain what your need is. But they also, scholarship funders tend to want to see that you have taken that step toward trying to get financial aid. That's kind of another reason that they do it. So you do need to do it.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. And then you said that that you're available just as long as we submit our essays prior, like 2 weeks prior to when it's due then, right? To you, or even before that.
Yeah. So like the scholarship deadline for NPC Friends and Family is April 14th. You probably need to send me your essay around the last week in March, first week in April, if I'm going to be able to turn it around to you. And you can actually send it anytime. You could send it tomorrow.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments or? Okay, if you think of anything, we go off the call and you go, oh, I didn't ask her that. There's my email, betsy.wilson@npc.edu. Shoot me an email and I'll be happy to do my best to answer your question. And again, this is, I just want you to think about scholarships as a resource for any college or university that you're attending before you think about things like student loans. There's just a lot of money out there, I think, that you can win as an award. And really, again, appreciate you for listening to my presentation. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch. And I'm giving a round of applause to my colleague, Rebecca, for running the tech in the background. Thank you for doing that, Becca.
You're very welcome.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'll stop sharing my screen and just do one last call for questions. And if there are none, we are going to post this recording. There will be a YouTube link on the NPC Friends and Family page where you can, any scholarship that you click on will have the YouTube link, and give us about a day to do that. There's an old one up there now, but this one will be up there. And then I'll also post the notes from this presentation with those URL links so that you can look into the various, the FAFSA link and the various scholarship links without having to consult your notes. We'll have those posted so that when you go to the NPC Friends and Family scholarship page and you click on any scholarship, even if it says it's closed, you'll be able to find those links. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your attention and time, and I wish you a lot of luck, and I hope you win a lot of scholarships, and good luck to you for the rest of a good semester.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Hi, Alicia.
Thank you.
Hello.
Who's that? Who's your student with you?
I'm like, I don't know.
Your future college student.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
That's Saray.
Hi,
My
Saray.
11-year-old.
How old is she?
11.
So Saray, in a few years, we ought to see you at NPC, right?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
no?
ma'am. I
Like-
think so. Well, thank you.
She has so many things she wants to do, but
That's awesome. Well, you're a great role model for her. So thanks for being here.
thank you.
Okay, everybody have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.